Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for a live reaction and player ratings live stream after Chelsea 2, Copenhagen FC 1. Or as I should say, the other way around, because it was the away leg. It's been 9 days since we last played a game. I couldn't stream for the last game. It feels like I haven't been here in about 3.5 years. So, well, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be joined by Dharmz. I'll get to you in a second, Dharmz. And it's great that we won again. I'm not sure why we had to quite leave it so close for the second leg. Would have been nice to at least be 2 goals ahead. But of course, we hate a clean sheet. So, you know, what else is to be expected? But hey-ho, the 2 captains, obviously Reece James and then Enzo Fernandez, did step up today. Got us big goals after one of the worst and most boring first halves of football I might have ever sat through. Like, it was unbelievable. Like, on Sky Austria was also like broadcast without a commentator. So my God, I was struggling to pay attention because, my God, without a commentator, constantly just Copenhagen fans whistling every time we touched the ball. My God, was that annoying. But hey, we got through it. We got the more difficult part of it done. We won the game 2-1. Here we go into Leicester on the weekend. Dharmz, thank you for coming back on. It's been a hot minute, so I appreciate you for being here. I said to you during the game, bro, please come on, because I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to talk about this game on my own, because there isn't much. There isn't much. So, yeah, glad to have you on. And what did you make of that game?
Yeah, big up to you, Laurenz, man. Big up the chat. It's been a while since I've been on, man. But yeah, I said to you, bro, literally, I was falling asleep that first half, man. Honestly, genuinely, it was just so slow and so sluggish for the first half. But yeah, I'm satisfied with the win, but it would have been better if we didn't concede. I think we would have been more comfortable with the 2-0 lead going into next week. But yeah, I guess we'll take the 2-1 really, and just have to keep it professional for next week. But my God, we were so bad that first half. I think we accumulated a 0.02 XG or something like that. I genuinely don't remember any sort of threat that we posed in that first half. So
I think it was just that Palmer volley, like, that happened.
Oh my
that
God,
was the only thing that happened.
Genuinely couldn't remember, and I don't even remember like the likes of George or Maresca touching the ball in that first half. So
Literally.
So yeah, I think we were good for about 20-25 minutes, and that's where the game sort of changed for us after the second half.
Yeah.
With obviously the changes that Maresca made, bringing on the likes of Enzo and Nkunku, Cucurella coming on was big for us as well. Made a massive impact in the game. It impacted the goals as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall satisfied, and we got the job done. That's it really. And I guess it's an unlike Chelsea performance, shall I say, because we're so used to us bottling a lot of chances, but this is the one game where we're actually clinical, because apart from those 2 goals,
I think we had 2 shots on target.
Like, obviously, that we had that Palmer volley, that Cucurella chance, but that was essentially offside. But I don't remember anything else we did. So yeah, I guess it was clinical and concise. Really, that's it.
Quite literally. Now, before we get to a few other comments, Tom, what's your reaction to what Tom says here when he says we take an embarrassing win? Maresca tactically is pathetic, insisting on taking our foot off the gas like we can defend. Because I'm not sure, like, I sometimes see what people mean, where it's like, you know, we get a lead and then we don't start going for it as much anymore. But I think, I don't know. Like, what is your reaction to a comment like this? Is it like, is what happened in the first half, is that tactically pathetic from Maresca, or is it an opponent that's better than people give them credit for, sitting very deep, and us playing with a forward line? Well, you could almost say without a forward line, because Palmer was midfield. So, like, you know, it's more. I always want to say Mueka, but it's Meuka, isn't he? With 13 professional minutes until today. I mean, like you said, it felt like he didn't even touch the ball. So what is your reaction to a comment like that?
I can see what Tom means in the comments, to be fair, because I'm sure all of us and most Chelsea fans were sort of surprised by the lineup and the way that we sort of packed out the midfield. I thought we would have left it a bit more open and sort of gone for it. It clearly didn't work in the first half, and that's why Maresca sort of changed up at halftime. But then obviously the Enzo and Caicedo change was, I guess, pre-planned anyway, because we can't just keep playing them consistently. But I thought packing out the midfield somewhat worked for us. I think Copenhagen are one of the tougher teams that will play in this competition. I'm not saying they're like amazing, they're Champions League level, but they did beat Man United last season. They were on our side of the draw, they're one of
in that Champions League group. I think that's a good point to make, bro. Because I think because it's Conference League, people took this game a little bit too lightly. Like, they're not a bad team. By the way, I just want to quickly touch on this from a Conference League perspective as a whole. The fact that we topped the Conference League league stage, group phase, whatever you want to call it, and then we had the possibility to be drawn against either Real Betis or Copenhagen, two of the three best teams alongside us in the whole competition, with Fiorentina as well, even though I think Fiorentina might have actually lost today. But even still, on paper, well, how could we have even been drawn against these two teams? This makes absolutely zero sense. I also don't understand why there's no more dropping down from the competition above. I think that's a bit stupid as well, if I'm being honest. But there you go. It is what it is. I mean, just to quickly touch on this as well, when will we get another Conference League clean sheet? It's so bad, isn't it? Like, we've only had one clean sheet in this whole Conference League season. And when you think about the levels of oppositions we've played, that is so bad. Like, I know we've rotated and obviously didn't play our best teams, but my God, it isn't that bad. It really isn't that bad. We're not even giving the likes of Josh Achampong minutes in these moments and in these games for whatever.
Am I right in saying that we gone a goal down in the Conference League yet? Or are these goals that we're conceding like when we're like 2 or 3-0 up? Because I can't remember actually. The chat can let us know as well.
I mean,
but
I can look.
Have we ever gone down 1-0 in the Conference League?
If we go to this one, and then, because if I go to fixtures, I unfortunately, can I select the competition of fixtures? No. So this will be a lot of going back, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. So we had in December, Shamrock Rovers. I'm pretty sure we didn't concede early there. No. Well, it was at 1-1, 3 minutes after we made it 1-0, to be fair. Why did you go all the way back out? That was unnecessary, wasn't it? Let me see. Yeah, it was Shamrock Rovers. What do we have before? Astana, we went up as well. Yeah, there you go. Is it going all the way back again? Why does it keep leaving the whole thing? I can't be bothered to check, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I am pretty sure that we never actually went behind, which is all well and good. But I mean, this tells you kind of everything about the game that it was. Copenhagen at 0.38 XG and we had 0.36 XG. Bloody hell.
That's the definition of being clinical. That's literally it. It's like an unlike Chelsea performance. Like, as I said, but we waste so many chances on games where we should have won. And we're like, oh, like, why do we not score these chances? We had this chance, this chance, this chance. And we replay the chances again on like Twitter and stuff. But then, this is the one time where we actually clinical. I was like, wow, is this us, Chelsea, or what? Or
you'll ask yourself that question, isn't it? Because on the one hand, obviously, you're right. On the other hand, it's not purely that we were clinical; it's that we were so bad that we didn't even create chances.
Yeah,
like I get what you're saying, and with those couple of chances that did fall to us, we were clinical. But my God, it still isn't ideal. You can see it on screen here. That Reece James goal had an XG of 0.02. So make of that what you will. Shinda says, I can't lie. If we won 2-0, 4-1, 2-1, just win it and see it at home. I get that, but had it been 4-1 or 3-0, it would essentially have already been over. And obviously, we play Arsenal next week, 3 days after the second leg. So would we have been in a position to play almost a fully under 21 side? Would have put us in a better position for the game against Arsenal. But then again, usually it doesn't really work like that for us, does it? So I guess maybe you could just say it doesn't really make much of a difference. Shina also said Gaffer took one of the chances to rest players, which is fine in regards to the upcoming games. I mean, yeah, it's true, but I don't think Copenhagen are any worse. I actually think they are better than Leicester are. So I don't really know if and that's who our next Premier League game is on Sunday. So I don't really know if that's how we should view it, especially as I think the upcoming Conference League games will probably be easier than this one was. But there you go. Make of it what you will. By the way, our next opponent, which will be between Molde and Legia Warsaw. Molde were already 3-0 up in the first half. It ended 3-2. So still, something to go in that game, especially with the second leg being in Poland. But yeah, there you go. I mean, let me bring up the lineup because it was a bit strange, like you discussed. I mean, when we saw it, it was like Chalobah named as the right back, Gusto named as the left as the left back, Reece James named in midfield, and then we kind of turn up with something like this. Now, I'm not saying this is 1,000% accurate. In reality, it was a bit like all of these six almost played kind of behind the striker, and then it was a back three, right? It was nearly like that. Like I looked at the average positions in the first half, it was literally nearly like that. But obviously,
George and Gusto and Cucurella were our sort of outlets and our width. Well, supposed width, but which you didn't really use in the first half. But yeah,
exactly. And Gusto was even a good bit higher than Cucurella even was, if we're being honest. But yeah, I don't want to cluster it too much, so that's why I'm spreading them out a little bit. But don't take it word for word. That's how we shaped up. But obviously, Robert Sanchez was back in goal. I say obviously, but Maresca did confirm that the day before in a press conference that would be the case. I'm expecting Jørgensen to also to be back in goal against Leicester. So now basically the roles having switched, Jørgensen being the Premier League goalkeeper, Sanchez being the Conference League goalkeeper. And then Badiashile returned from long-term injury straight into starting. I was surprised, but I'll take it, I suppose.
Surprised, yeah.
I mean, the same goes for Chalobah. He came back as well. Good to have some of the injuries back, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Especially for strength and depth. Even before the game, I was kind of looking at this like, play our strongest team with the thought of Badiashile and Chalobah being eased into it. I thought they'd come on at half time, like looking before the game and stuff. And then I would have started them in the Conference League game next week to get their minutes up. But it's mad how they just got thrown straight into it, to be fair. And especially Maresca as well up front. I was really surprised he got the go ahead in front of like the likes of Nkunku or even Neto, because Neto's doing quite well at striker centre forward at the moment. I thought Maresca would have kept him in confidence and taken him off.
I think it was a case of managing Neto's minutes because he's presumably our main striker for the time being until Jackson returns. The fact that he started it twice in a row now in the Prem and done well each time, to be fair to him. So, yeah, I mean, I was surprised as well by Moeka starting, Meuka, I should say. But then again, I rate it. I mean, like, it annoys me that we couldn't see someone like Achimpong even get minutes. Like, I think that's a little bit ridiculous again. And honestly, I firmly believe that he's been absolutely screwed over and, just absolutely screwed by the club, forced into signing a new contract. Otherwise, they wouldn't even let him train or play. So it is harsh. It is harsh. I think people are joining from Lewis's stream. Thank you for Lewis's race. Big up Lewis. Big up everybody joining from that stream. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Big up Eric. Big up everybody else that's joining. But yeah, on Chalobah, it didn't surprise me as much that he started purely because he wasn't out for very long. He was only out for 3 weeks maybe. It really wasn't that long, so that's fair enough. But Badiashile's been out for a good while. Like I think he's been out. Was it since December? It wasn't November. It was December. It must have been December, but still,
it was December. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was December.
Yeah, exactly. And like Shinna said, Nkunku up front, we've already seen plenty of that. The thing is, only the way the first half was today, you can't even do anything with this. Like we didn't really get any information on Meuka on terms of is he good enough? Can we give him a chance again? Like he barely touched the ball. We'll get into the stats in a bit to see if he did touch the ball, and then you sub him off at halftime. Now I understood why. But it would have been nice for him to be on the pitch after we had taken the lead because I think you could have seen a bit more from him as well. So that would have been nice. But yeah, shout out, Lewis. Love you, bro.
Big up, Vescoli. Big up, man.
Big up, Laurenz. And Dharmz, thank you very, very much. But overall, was it that level of mix of rotation and starting and strong players that you expected? Or was it even outside of Meuka a surprising amount of rotation to you?
Yeah, it was a mix of both, but definitely Maresca starting up front was obviously the biggest surprise for me because it's his first ever start for us, isn't it? And I think he's only played 13 minutes. Is it the youngest ever player that's played for us in Europe? I believe. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong with that, or yourself. But
he's 17. Youngest. But Hudson-Odoi was 17. I'm not sure who is younger in 17 though.
I think I think the commentators did say it was him, but yeah, I just thought
presumably it is him if the commentator said that.
Yeah, I think he did, but I couldn't remember at the time. But yeah, it's a shame for him because he couldn't really do much more in that first half because I just think with that diabolical in the first half that he couldn't really do much. Like bless him, he was making runs and stuff, but he just kept getting ignored. And every time he played a ball over the top, he just wasn't getting there because of the physicality of the centre backs he was up against. So yeah, it's a shame, but it'll be a good experience for him to get a taste of European football, I guess. So yeah, and I was kind of a bit surprised Dewsbury Hall side actually. I thought he would have come on sort of at half time and then maybe shore up the game a little bit, but my God, some of his touches on the ball were awful today. Like I know he's an awful footballer generally, but he just wouldn't stick to his feet like ever. And you
But
see
it
other
just
players,
doesn't, does it? Like, it never
it
does.
just doesn't like at all. And even that last, I don't know if you remember, the chat remembers, but I think the last, like almost one of the last kicks of the game, he takes it down the line and then just boots it out of play. Like he does like a chip pass to Nkunku and just goes straight up. I'm like, well, what are you doing, bro? Like, why are you trying to chip it? Just play it on the ground. Play the 1-2 and then just take it to the corner if you're trying to play out for the 2-1. But yeah, I'm not impressed with Dewsbury Houghton and but obviously we'll get into that later on. So
yeah, no, I'm not impressed by him either. Can I say I was surprised the fact that he started today? Honestly, not really,
same,
because
yeah.
when else is he going to play? Like, do you know what I mean? And we can't play,
That
like
is
you
very
said
true.
earlier, we can't play Enzo every single game. So, you know, if you're not going to play him in these kind of games, he's already a pointless signing. But if you're not even going to play him in these kind of games, you just make it worse. What I just put on screen now, obviously, I already had Cucurella replacing Gusto. That happened early in the first half after, 25 minutes. Gusto had already been down 3 separate times, got up each time. Got up twice, had massive taping and bandages around his ankle, but then got hit with the ball at his ankle as he had his foot in the ground. And he wasn't good. He immediately said he needs to come off. I don't think it's something serious, but it's probably that the ankle is a bit aggravated. I wouldn't expect him to be out for super long, but he couldn't continue in the day. And then we made 3 halftime subs, which I think they were all pre-planned, if we're being honest. Coble came on for Badiashile, who obviously just came back from injury. I think Enzo replacing Caicedo was also pre-planned, both of them only playing a half. You know, like we touched on, would we have more midfielders? Because clearly Amugu isn't of the level that Maresca particularly cares about. So if we can't split it up other ways, we have to give them a half each, I suppose. Nkunku came on for Moeka, but what was super interesting, why did I even put George there? Am I waffling? Sancho came on for Parma. What was super interesting in the second half, then when Moeka was replaced by Nkunku, it wasn't actually Nkunku playing up front. It was Nkunku playing left wing and George playing up front, and Dewsbury Hall went over to right wing. So that was a bit wild. Not really sure if it necessarily worked, but then again, we scored 2 goals when we played like that. So I guess it did work to an extent. I guess it did work, but yeah, make of that what you will. Let me hop over to the lineup screen, so we can actually look at a few stats. Even though obviously for a few of them, especially going through defenders now, there isn't going to be that much to say if we're being honest. Sanchez. There was one save he made that was where they were offside anyway, where I was like slightly impressed for that moment. Obviously, Copenhagen hit the post once when it flew straight back into the arms of Sanchez, so they could have made it 1-1 earlier in the game. I'd probably just give him like an average 6, wouldn't you, Dharmz? Because I don't think he did anything wrong, but I don't think I can give him much praise for much he did.
Yeah, I generally can't remember anything good he did really. Just a standard performance. They didn't really test our goal that much, apart from the post shot, which obviously fell luckily into our hands. That was more bad defending than Sanchez. So, but I'm seeing a couple of stuff maybe could have done better with the goal, but I need to see that again. I need to see the goal again.
It was a weird one, wasn't it? Like we'll obviously get onto the centre backs in a second as well.
So I'm
I saw a lot of people blaming Cole, and I was like, was it just Cole? It almost feels a bit easy. But would you go along with an average 6 for Sanchez, or would you go?
I'd stick with the 6 to be honest with you as well. Nothing really much to stay on him. He's obviously going to be the cup keeper now. He'll play next Thursday, and just keep it moving. That's it.
Absolutely. As for Badiashile, on his comeback, I mean, there was one moment where he seemed a little bit disorientated, didn't really know where the ball was anymore.
Did the ball spun around him or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no idea what was going on. But I mean, honestly, the first half was so dead that obviously they hit the post very early in the second half, and they had that goal later on in the game. But nothing happened in the first half. Like they had 2 shots, we had 1 shot, I think. Nothing was dangerous. So I can't also really be mad at the defenders. Like we can criticize the midfielders and the forwards, but the defenders, other than maybe 1 or 2 misplaced passes that weren't necessary, but he only made 4 in total. So how much can you really complain? That's the question of what do you do with these players? Because Badiashile was only on in that first half where they didn't get very close to conceding. So does he deserve more than an average 6? I'd probably still give him an average 6 because we also didn't feel particularly tested because Copenhagen just felt focused on defending.
They were poor in the final third as well. Like literally, I go back to that post shot. Apart from that time they hit the post, they didn't. Every time they sort of got the ball to the final third, their attackers would either have a heavy touch or go out of play. But I thought even for the one set piece that they had towards the late of the game, I thought we dealt with that quite well. That obviously wasn't Badia's shield that headed out with Sancho, but considering it was his first game back after a few months, I thought he did well. I thought he did okay. Just kept the ball moving. Only thing was maybe the passing could have been a bit quicker, but I think that was a team problem and a tactical problem rather than him itself. But yeah, I'd go average as well. I'll go with the 6 with him as well.
Fair dues. I mean, we'll just go through the defenders and then we'll put it up on screen. Tosin supposedly completed the most passes, 131 out of 135. I mean, it was a lot of passes. Not much to any of those passes, if we're being honest.
There were like 2 or 3 passes where he sort of slotted it into Palmer. There's a couple like, oh, okay, now Palmer do something, or George do something with it, or Dewsbury will go and do something with it. But
yeah, he did play 7 passes into the final third, so that's not too bad. 3 out of 3 long balls. Can't complain at that either. Duels wise, I mean, he only had 1 ground duel. He had 3 aerial duels, 1-2 of them. You can't complain. Obviously, unlike Badiashil, he was on the pitch when we conceded, and when we conceded that other chance as well. Would you just give him a 6 as well, or do you reckon he deserves a little less?
I'd stick with the 6 as well. To an interview as well. Yeah, it's just really strange that we're sort of ranking our defenders.
When it felt like they didn't do anything all night, even though we didn't keep a clean sheet.
It's just strange when they do nothing in the game, like they've done nothing wrong but nothing good either. I mean, that's the best way to sum it up. So you just have to go average, don't you? So I'd stick with the 6.
100%. And I would say the exact same for Chalobah as well. I'm not sure if you noticed anything stand out good or stand out bad, because honestly, I didn't. Again, reasonable passing, can't complain with it too much. Duels again, 2 out of 3 ground duels, 0 out of 1 aerial duels.
He's quite good at defending wide spaces. He's quite good at defending wide spaces as well. He's obviously played right back for us before.
I mean, obviously he spent most of the time not being a right back because most of the time we were on the ball. But when these guys had to defend, then like you say, he was obviously the right back. So there you go. Just to quickly continue him in this vein as well, if we're doing the centre backs, I would include Levi Colwill. He's the only one where, because potentially you can maybe put some of the blame of the goal on him. Or was it Chalobah that made the foul that we conceded from? I mean, fair enough, but honestly, we should just defend set pieces better. It can't be that any basic set piece from the touchline is a threat and then we start blaming players for giving a foul away. Like, it happens. It's football. Fouls happen. But, I mean, like you said as well, we'd maybe have to see it back. But it feels a little bit like... to me, it felt like everybody was looking at Dewsbury Hall after, and Dewsbury Hall looked a little bit annoyed with himself. So it felt like Dewsbury Hall lost his man because Colwill was like 2 yards away from the guy that scored in the end. So I feel like Colwill just ended up being the closest to the guy, but it wasn't actually him that lost his man. So I'm not really sure if any blame should be put on him, if I'm honest. Where do you stand on that? I'll try to find it and we can look at it off there to see what we make.
Yeah, I mean, my first initial reaction when I saw the goal, the replay of the goal, the first time I was watching it, I was like, how come, he's gone off Colwill's shoulder. That was my instant reaction. So, and even coming on, I didn't think any of his passing was great. I thought under pressure, he just kept hoofing it into no man's land to the centre back. He does that standard where he gets the ball, looks up, and just hopes for the best and just hoofs it down the flank. But yeah, I'd probably go for a 5, to be honest with you. Just purely off him being involved in the goal, really, for them.
I'm just watching the goal back, and it's honestly...
Yeah.
I don't even think we should blame any individual player. I'll forward this to you now, bro, so you can look at it as well and give your thoughts. Just 1 second. Obviously, guys, we can't show it on here now because we'd get copyrighted, which wouldn't be ideal. But honestly, it's just terrible set piece setup because when you look at it, no one is on that guy. So I'm not sure if there's anyone whose zoned is supposed to be. But if you watch it, and you will now, he stands like 2-3 yards away from everybody else. The cross comes in and he just runs past everybody.
Oh, I found the clip. Let's see.
I've sent it to you on DM on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just got it now. Let's see.
Yeah, he just runs past everyone. I'm not really sure because they all seem to have a man initially, so I'm not really sure.
It's more sort of zonal marking. It's more like the Dewsbury Hall should have maybe followed him, but then you expect your centre back to sort of be commanding there and have his sort of shoulders covered there.
I mean, you can argue Colwill should read a little bit better, but I don't I think where the header comes from. outside the 6-yard box quite wide. I don't think that's Coble's zone. I know what you're saying, but I don't think that is Coble's zone. I think that is supposed to be someone else's who didn't follow the line. Look at Kukureya's reaction and Nkunku's as well. They are looking at Dewsbury Hall, so that tells me Dewsbury Hall was the guy that was supposed to be there. But there you go. Make of it what you will.
I've taken a screenshot of like sort of the ball going in. It's quite interesting actually that how many players are sort of just watching in that instance. I'll try and send it to you on Twitter. Yeah, just send it to you now. So that's sort of, I don't know if I've paused it too early or not, but that's sort of when the ball's just about like just in the air. And you can see there, so the player that heads it, look how far ahead Colwell is compared to where the goal actually happens from the header. And
yeah, but when you consider the fact that this guy is running in from further out than our furthest wide play, I'm not sure if I can demand from Colwell to see a guy that's running in from 10 yards away from him.
From 10 yards, yeah, that's true. Yeah, to be fair, like I think the blame should lie more with Cucurella, Dewsbury Hall, and Nkunku, really, because they're the three that can actually see that man running, and obviously they're.
So I'm trying to just pause it, guys. Right, like when you look here. Let me try to full screen it without playing. Don't copyright me. I'm just using still screens, guys. Just using still screen YouTube. This is where he plays it. This guy over here, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but this guy is the guy that scores. He's like 3 yards away from everybody. And then he runs into the box. Just past everyone completely. For me, this is honestly, I'm not going to blame any individual for this. I think this is just terrible set piece setup.
It is, like,
once we see that this guy stood there on his own, someone needs to pay attention to this guy. And it look like when you look at our players, not one is looking at him remotely. No. Like they're all looking at the ball, every single one of them, which is obviously fine. But check behind you. Like once you see there is someone there, you need to pay attention. And the fact that he scores is just. The fact that we hired a specific set piece coach and things like this happen is a joke. Like, let's be honest.
It's the set pieces coach's fault, basically. We can blame it on him. So
exactly. I'd probably give Coble the same 6. It's interesting what you said in terms of
fair enough.
In terms of that you saw him just hoof it a bit too much sometimes. Fair, if I'm honest, fair. But it's a tough one. Yeah, okay, stop.
It's a good header though, by the way, as well.
But please don't go with the all caps. I'd appreciate that. JC says also, why is it that our players always leave a player or two open at the far post in almost every set piece? Honestly, if only it was only set pieces, we do it at every piece, at every play, open play, set pieces. We do it every moment we can. It's ridiculous. That's actually also true. I think the closest to it is probably Tosin. The other ones are all shocking. No, it's accumulation of whoever brought in the defensive set piece coach, Maresca, zonal marking, KDH losing his marker, Cobble reading of the game, Sanchez run out the back to the line, and Trev's foul. I haven't really paid attention to Sanchez on it yet. I mean, if we're blaming Sanchez for this, then we're starting to be very harsh. I don't know. If I was an opposition manager, I would just go route 1 against Chelsea. Well, they all do. End of the day, just pour in it. I expected like a 5-0 win today. Okay, but that's more on you. I think that's more on you underestimating Copenhagen. Like they scored 4 goals at Old Trafford last year. Like I think you would need like the accumulation of 7 or 8 years for Chelsea to have scored 4 goals at Old Trafford. Do you know what I mean? And they did it in one game. I don't think they're as bad as some people try to make it out. But there you go. Let's write these down. Sanchez, we gave a 6. We gave all of these guys a 6. I think that's the only thing that we can do. Honestly, you could give some of these an NA as well if you wanted, but some of them play 90 minutes, so that would be a little bit outrageous. But there you go. I guess we move up to our midfielders, because Gusto and Cucurella were going to do a little bit after. Let's get to Reece James first, because obviously he was part of the double pivot, but he is one of the defenders. Let's do Reece James. What a goal it was, right, bro?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 0.02 XG. Whew, what a finish! And that was very much a captain's goal, and a goal that we needed. And that was, like I say, a captain's goal where he turned up. It was tough going, shocking first half, and then within 20 seconds of the second half, like it wasn't even a minute played in the second half, he gets that goal. I think if we don't get this early goal in the second half, I don't think we win this game. So I think this was huge, like great goal. I would love to know the exact distance from goal. That would be very nice, but unfortunately we don't have that information. But if that football graphic is accurate, that makes it nearly 30 yards, so that's good going. Great goal, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. For me, our man of the match, or my man of the match for today, out of sort of an average bunch, but yeah, it was the captain's performance, especially from half time. Took the goal really well, man. Like that finish was beautiful. It wasn't even the power, it was the placement. It's like he didn't really. I don't think he laced it. He didn't even lace it either. He just used his side foot to finish it, and it's one of them where he kind of deceived the keeper a little bit, because the keeper probably thought he was going to go the other side, but then he just slots it away. I think this midfield role is suiting him as well. He's obviously taking comfort into his body now, I guess, with playing in this midfield position that he does for us now. And we've seen that the goal threat he can pose as well. Like we've all probably forgotten how good he actually is in front of goal when he gets a chance, or when he's near the box, I guess. We see the goals that he scored in Champions League against Juventus, Milan, countless goals, even when he was playing at right wing back for us. So he could be very handy for us, and I think he does shore up our midfield a bit more, provides us a bit of protection, whilst obviously Lavia is not sort of fully fit to play. But then again, Reece, we don't know how long Reece is going to last either. In terms of his own minutes,
note, right? The whole him playing in midfield is interesting, right? Because obviously he's played a few games at centre back earlier in the season, and we was a lot of us were talking about, like, obviously it gives us defensive stability, but it also limited his running and limited his sprinting. But then when you actually think about it, does it? Because as soon as any opposition plays the ball over the top, he's sprinting more than any player else is, because he's then the one that actually needs to defend the goal. A lot of the other players then kind of run back or jog back, but they're not going full on sprint. But if you're getting the ball over the top and you're needing to follow the winger that's trying to cut inside, that's when you need to go full sprint. And we've seen him having to do it before he picked up this most recent injury on a number of occasions. But the way he plays in midfield, now obviously if we get turned over, then there is moments where he needs to run. But there's never moments where he's the last man and needs to sprint no matter what. So I genuinely, and I said this actually a while back already, that I think the midfield could be where he is able to play more sustainably. Now, obviously the midfield in terms of kilometers and kind of miles they track during a game might be more, but I think there's less of heavy running and explosive movements happening when you're playing in midfield compared to when you're playing centre back or fullback. So maybe this is how we can get him playing more regularly. Now, like JC said, I still don't feel like he feels himself. He still doesn't feel as explosive as he used to be. He doesn't feel as creative as he used to be. He doesn't feel as brave and as willing to commit as he maybe used to be. But then that goal showed the opposite. He was like, well, this isn't happening. I'm going to just have a pop. And sometimes you need to do that, Back in the day, Frank used to do that. Back in the day, Drogba used to do that. Back in the day, Essien or Ballack used to do that. That's what a lot of players did. And sometimes
I think he's changed his style as well. Like, I think he knows himself that he's not the same player that he broke into our team with, and I think he's adapted his own self and adapted his own game. He's played in midfield. He's played there for Wigan on loan as well. So he is capable of playing there. Obviously, when he got shifted into that midfield role first against Villa, I believe it was. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, but I remember the first game that he sort of played, he was a bit iffy on the ball, but it's taken a couple of games for him to get used to and stuff. And I guess with the midfield thing as well, he, as a midfielder, you're always moving anyway. Whereas when you're at centre back and right back, you sort of have that second or extra second to sort of observe the game and you're sort of watching, and then all of a sudden you have to use your explosiveness where he got injured. But with the midfield, at least you're still like roaming around the pitch, and at least you're still supporting the attack and the defense. So and that's obviously keeping his muscles active as well, which obviously helps, I think, with him playing there. But I think especially the big games, like say we come against tougher games or tougher teams, really, I think this midfield role will suit him really well. But it'll be interesting to see if we play against teams that oh, that's an interesting comment. Wow, okay. It'll be interesting to see against teams that that we need to break down, or we're chasing a goal, how he'll fare there, because we know the threat that he can pose going forward, and it's whether he can actually use that and integrate that more into his play as like as an 8, as like a number 8, basically. So
I would love in certain games, how in certain games we play this kind of three at the back base, and then almost a diamond in midfield of where Caicedo is the single base, and then we have a left CM and a right CM.
Yeah,
I would love for Reece James to be that right centre mid that drops into midfield to fall next to Caicedo to help in as a defensive midfielder, but pop up in that right half channel for the shots from distance, for arriving into the box, for the crosses from the left, and for his half field crosses as well. Because I think those are three incredibly important factors that he can add to our goal threat, especially when our forwards are maybe struggling to get goals. Having Reece James in that area, if Reece James ever gets to like anything remotely close to like peak or his best fitness, because I don't think he's doing that right now. I don't think he does the bombing as much at the moment. But even still, the goal that he scored today was a kind of cutback from Tyreek George, was it?
No, it's Cucurella.
Tyreek George, Enzo's goal. And he did arrive to that, and he just hit it, and it was a great hit, like you said. Whether he laced it, I think a bit of a mix of lacing and side footing it, if I'm being honest.
I think it's also
like said, very interesting comment from Maresca, wasn't it? I see Reece James from day one. I mean,
that is interesting.
Honestly, I do. Since he's got injured so much, I've always said, if you're injured that much with your hamstring, you shouldn't be playing the position that sprints up and down the pitch all game long. Like, it's kind of simple logic that's maybe not your best position. If Ben Chilwell had the footballing qualities to play in a different position, that would also have helped him a lot. But his physical attributes were always his biggest asset. While for Reece James, short physique is a big part, but less so the pace and less so the stamina, right? Absolutely. Like he's also 8 today. I prefer him on the right as well. I don't know why he was chosen to play on the left. I wonder if Maresca has a reason for that. But where do you stand on Reece being seen as a midfielder? Like, I guess if the fullbacks are used the way we use our fullbacks most of the time, this gets more out of him, I guess. But then obviously we had Gusto first, and then Cucurella playing pseudo left back and essentially being the left winger all game. If you did that on the other side, you could let Reece James do that as well. Would you prefer that, or do you think reverting him or making him into a midfielder long term could give him a longer Chelsea career? But then again, if you're making Reece James into a midfielder, why on earth did we spend so much money on 3 other midfielders? Like, obviously we needed some of them, but we spent 220 million on Enzo and Caicedo plus 60 million for Lavia. If now we make our best homegrown player into a midfielder as well, bloody hell, we've got all the midfielders and nobody else.
Yeah, literally. I think I actually think this Lavia injuries sort of, I'm not saying it's been a blessing for Reece James, but it's sort of revived his own career to adjust a little bit in a sense, because we've seen in the past with him playing right back, it's the same common theme where he gets injured after 2-3 games, and like you said, the explosiveness is just not there for him anymore. Sadly he's not going to be that player anymore. I also think he makes players around him better as well. He makes our midfield better. Like
he makes everybody calmer because they know he's so physically strong. Like that's I think the biggest asset that him being in midfield gives us. Like, he's not the tallest, he's not necessarily the best in the air in terms of winning headers, but he's so physically strong, and we don't have many players like that. Obviously, Caicedo is physically a strong player, but he's not like hench. He's not like super built, and he's more like the guy that is physical by running around and getting stuck in. While Reece James just makes people bounce around, and that's an important factor to have in the team as well, having in midfield. And we don't have anybody else that provides that really.
And I also think it frees up Enzo as well. We've seen Enzo's form turn just drastically like that since Reece James is going to midfield. Is sort of not relied on his defensive attributes that much for Enzo Fernandez. He could push more forward and stuff, and he can rely late in the box like he's done and make runs into the box more and more, which he was doing at the start of the season. And coincidentally, that was when Lavia was in the team as well. So it just shows that having a competent sort of destroyer in midfield, next to Caicedo, you'll get the best out of Enzo Fernandez. And I genuinely think it can work for us, especially in big games where we need to defend the lead, I guess, where say we're in a spell of like 10-15 minutes where teams are coming at us. I think Reece James positionally as well, I think that's the most important thing for him. He knows where to be in the midfield holes as well, along with Caicedo, and then that frees up Caicedo to break up play and play those like phenomenal passes that he always does. So on to like a sort of a match rating, I'd say he's man of the match. I'll probably give him a 8 to be honest with you. I thought he was our best
I
player
was
today.
thinking 8 as well, bro. I was thinking 8 as well. I was between a 7.5 and an 8. But I think the fact that he scored the goal the way he did, how good of a goal it was, and the time of the goal it was.
And like you said, changed the game for us as well, because I agree with you. I don't think we would have gone and won the game had it not been for his individual brilliance. So yeah, I'd give it an 8. And let's just everyone cross their fingers he just stays fit. That's it.
Absolutely. Let's just hope and pray. We move on to Caicedo. Now, in our group chat, I think somebody said, when he got subbed off at halftime for Enzo, somebody said, well, good. I thought he was poor. And you acted surprised at that. So what did you make of Caicedo in that first half, considering the first half was in general terrible from our whole team?
Yeah, I thought I didn't think he was bad. I thought he was one of our better players. I'm not saying he was the best player on the pitch, but Caicedo's Caicedo. He's guaranteed to have a good game most games now for us this season. I thought he broke up play a couple of times really well for us when we were on the ropes, or whenever we were sort of on the ropes, where they sort of passed that first or second man from midfield, like past like Parman and Dewsbury Hall. I thought he broke up play quite well. Maybe his passing could have been a bit more sharper and better. That's the only thing I'd say. But I still think his engine was good. He got around the pitch quite well, and I thought he broke up play well, like he normally does, to be fair. Like, that's what me anyway. I'm not saying it was his best ever performance for us, but I still think he was good. Like, yeah, I still think he was good for us.
What rating would you give him then? With what you said?
Because I have such high standards of Caicedo, I'd probably say a 7. I'd probably go as high as a 7, to be honest with you, because I do think he played well. I know he obviously came off at half time, but he did solidify things for us. I think without him the first half, maybe we would have got overrun a little bit in the midfield. But yeah, I genuinely thought he played well today. I thought he did. I thought he did well.
I mean, honestly, I'd probably just give him an average 6, if I'm honest. Not that I necessarily think he played badly, but it's more because of how the game was and the fact that we were defensively not challenged at all, and it was mostly about Copenhagen sitting back. Like the defensive responsibilities weren't that high for him. That's also why his duel stats, like he was in 3 duels all game. Do you know what I mean? Supposedly 1, 2 out of 3. It also says he didn't commit a foul when he definitely committed a foul that wasn't a foul, but the ref gave us a foul. So unless Bob is like, well, actually, it wasn't a foul, so we're not going to give him the stat unless they're doing that. I'm a little bit confused by that. But the fact that he only had 3 duels and in general 2 defensive actions tells me the majority of his game was more about being offensive. And I think then, because I rate him so highly, also in the offensive part of the game, I needed to see a little bit more from him than keeping it simple and winning a couple of balls back, like especially when the players around him are Dewsbury Hall and stuff, and Reece James, who's not a fully natural midfielder. I would have expected a couple more maybe decisive passes, just a little bit of that. But there you go. If you give him a 7, I give him a 6. We give him a 6.5 overall. Just before we move on to that, let's go to Enzo Fernandez. Obviously, he played a half just as well as Moises Caicedo did, which is nice. And he scored a great goal. Great finish. He was also involved in the Reece James goal straight after halftime, him feeding the ball into... It must have been already into George, but it might have been initially into
Nkunku? No.
Yeah, it might have been initially into Nkunku, then into George, and then George sets up Reece. No, it wasn't George that set up Reece. It must have been Nkunku. Nkunku played it to Cucurella, and then Cucurella sets up.
That's right. Yeah, the George was involved in the second goal, wasn't it? Yeah,
exactly. Bloody hell, Enzo completed all 43 of his passes. That's pretty good going.
That's very impressive. Yeah, that's what you get with Enzo. Like these kind of games, you want someone like Enzo Fernandez on the pitch where he gets lots of touches on the ball, can play a few passes. There are a couple of passes where he played over the top. You're like, oh, okay, someone get on the end of this. It's just one where it went straight to the keeper. But I think there was one point where he played like a 1-2 with Nkunku. I think Nkunku was offside at the time. But we needed more of that from the first half, really. So, Enzo's form is revitalized again, man. He's doing quite well now. And I think Reece James has helped, been a major factor in that. I think freeing him up, making more runs into the box for Enzo. So, possibly. What would I rate him? I'll probably give him a 7. I'll probably give him a 7 as well. I don't know if that's fair or not. I think a 7 is pretty solid, to be fair, considering he only played a half as well. So,
Honestly, I'd probably give him a 7.5 because he got that goal.
Yes. I can move to 7.5 as well. I'm fine with that as well. Yeah.
Especially
And
with
the goal
100%
it's good
passing
finish as well,
accuracy.
by the
Now,
way.
that's not everything. Don't get me wrong, it's not everything, but it still doesn't happen that often that any player has 100% passing accuracy, less alone a midfielder. Like centre backs sometimes, but a midfielder to have 100% passing accuracy, that doesn't happen very often. And like you said, I love about him, especially recently, like very recently, the last few weeks, even sometimes when it doesn't come off for him, he is the guy that makes the decisive runs into the box at the moment. And he's the only one that seems to have figured out when to arrive in the box. Like, weirdly, Cucurella is the other, but Cucurella depends on where he plays in a game, whether he is the guy to make those late runs into the box. But Enzo gets stuck in, Enzo gets involved, and Enzo is really like, it's really stepped up in leadership as well, like in terms of firing people up, getting people going, trying, but also being constantly vocal, speaking to his teammates, being, but also visibly like into it. Because I think, where it's like, and this is no front at Cole Palmer, but Cole Palmer looks always so not bothered, which is all well and good, and that's his character, and that's perfectly fine. But that's why he's not a leader, because it's a bit like, I know Hazard was captain for Belgium, but to me, Hazard should never have been, he's not a captain. Hazard's great by being great, but he's not going to be the guy that, picks everybody up, makes everybody fired up to like keep going, get going, and like be so into it. But I think his South American kind of passion, tenacity, if you will, I think certainly shows through in that situation. Honestly, obviously, he came on for Caicedo today, so he didn't play maybe as high forward as he usually does when he played today, and he was also good. Like, I enjoy that from him as well, that you can put him deeper and he will do a job. You can put him higher and he will do a job. Obviously depends on the opposition. If you're playing Liverpool, you probably don't want him deeper, but against low blocks you can certainly put him deeper, because he can still arrive in the box and he can spray those passes from the back, and he's the only one that plays them quickly. So I'd give him a 7.5 myself. Let me quickly change it out of the screen. So I
love his celebrations, by the way, as well. His celebrations after every goal, man. It's just like, he really wants to be there. He really wants to prove people wrong as well. And Enzo, man, big up to him, man. Big up to him. He's doing well at the moment, man. Let's hope it continues, man. And I'm confident it will, to be fair. Like, obviously the game on Sunday against Leicester, I can see him scoring again against Leicester.
Absolutely. I mean, Gusto, I would probably say we'll just rattle that off as an NA, because I mean, he played 25 minutes and spent most of that on the floor being injured. So I don't think there's much of a rating to give him. As for Cucurella, you said it in our group chat as well. He's so important to us, isn't he? Like, I still find it absolutely insane, the fact that we just let his backup go and didn't get a replacement. Like, I just loaned Vega out and just like, well, that's it now. And we're not even using the next or the one academy player that we could use in that position either. Ishi Samuels, like, we're not even using him. So the whole thing seems a little bit strange. And playing Gusto out of position, now he's got injured, so that means Cucurella will just have to play every single game from now on, essentially. But again, what did you make of him, bro?
Coming on, I think I wouldn't say change the game like massively for us, but you could just tell like we needed his energy in this game, man. That whole game was crying out for someone like Cucurella to come on, rattle the crowd a little bit, get them going and stuff, get the Copenhagen players going in a way where they sort of lose their heads a bit. And Cucurella is Cucurella, man. He just brings passion to the team. He brings defensive awareness to the team, a touch of goal threat as well now, which he's adding to his game massively. And I've said on like other streams that I've been on as well, bro. Him and Caicedo are sort of the baby spines in our team at the moment, where if we lose them two to injury, then I think we're completely screwed if we lose them two. They're so important to the team, man. Even in both phases of play, defensively and offensively, they're both super important. And even some of the leadership he brings on the pitch, he's quite talkative as well on the pitch as well. He's always shouting, he's always going mad as well. So, and I like that about him as well. And I thought he was good coming on. To be fair, I'd give him I'd give him a solid 7 as well. To be fair, and it was unlucky not to score. Maybe he should have timed his run a bit better, but unlucky not to score as well. So I'll give him a solid 7.
It was a bit unlucky with that. Honestly, I think because the person that he was closest to with the offside was the one at the very bottom of the screen. And so that might not have seemed as obvious initially. I think he was probably still off, but I think it was extremely close. So had it gone in, it would have been interesting to see what the UEFA lines would have come up with. Obviously, only misplaced 2 passes. That's great. Some good duel rates as well. 2 tackles, which is nice. I would agree with your 7, bro. I would honestly agree with your 7. I think we'll be quite well off with that. What's your reaction to Ricky's comment here, Dharmz? He says, thoughts on having 2 right backs on the field, but neither playing right back. Has Maresca gone mad?
Possibly slightly, man. I think it's the way we set up mostly. To be fair, we weren't really playing with any sort of right back on the. It's my word. Like I'm saying that we did play right backs on the pitch, but no out and out right back, just because of the way we set up. We never really used the width as much as we did, and we set up very differently compared to normal. Where we had 3 centre backs spread across the pitch, and then Reece James in sort of midfield. We didn't really have like a right outlet, or we didn't use it really, and yeah, I guess Gusto playing at left back was just his way of like saying, yeah, Kokora, just hold bench for hold bench for this game and rest start. But obviously he couldn't continue because of the injury. But yeah, and realistically, if you're going to play Gusto in that game, then you'd have to play Reece in that position. And you really want Reece as a left wing back. And
Yeah,
we've only
either
got
that
really
or you're
3
playing Badiashile left back, which you also wouldn't
exactly,
want to do.
which you don't want. So I can understand it, but at the same time, like.
It's just the sign of what I said earlier in terms of it's crazy that we loaned out Renato Vega without replacement.
Yeah, exactly, because Renato Vega would have suited this game to a T. He would have been solid for us, and we would have given that proper rest and that quality that we needed, and even a goal for it as well, because he scored, didn't he, in the Conference League earlier in the season as well. So, yeah, it's a shame with Gusto, because I do think there's still a player in there. But I just don't think he fits what Maresca wants and how we're sort of using him.
I just think he wants to be a centre back, and honestly, I think he's probably a better centre back than Badiashile is. But you know,
he talked about Vega or Gusto or
Vega. I meant sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about Gusto, man. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was talking about Gusto.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for Gusto, but obviously Gusto, when he's playing, he plays most of the time as well. Obviously, he's had a struggle, like a difficult season. Gusto in the grand scheme of things. No matter where he's played, whether he's played left 10 like earlier in the season, right 10, whether he's played right back inversing into midfield, right back out wide, or left back, he's kind of struggled wherever he's played. So, yeah, it's not ideal, Ricky, but this is what happens when you have bad squad planning. Now, Dharmz, we've got another couple of interesting quotes from the manager. So let me see if I can get those up, because StreamYard sometimes doesn't want to share the screen how it's supposed to. And there we go. So first of all, Maresca says Gusto is not injured and is ready for Sunday. So that's interesting. Might he come off for 25 minutes then? But fair enough. On the Reece James situation, on the kind of him being a midfielder situation, Maresca actually went into a bit of detail, and he said, I sent Reece a clip when he was on holiday about how he can be a midfielder. He has played in fullback, central defender, so the main target for us is to keep him fit. When you watch a player, you sometimes need to use imagination and imagine a player doing something. I watched some of his games when he was on loan at Wigan, where he scored a fantastic goal from 25 or 30 meters. The best thing about Reece at the moment is he's helping the team with leadership. Well, yeah, like I say, I honestly don't mind it. I like to see it tried more. I'd like to see it like how it develops, because you know Reece James is still relatively young. Obviously, he's missed a lot of football with his injuries over the last 3 seasons, but he's still a young player. Like he could easily be a midfielder for the rest of his career now, and in the end, when he's 33, 34, be seen as a fantastic midfielder, Premier League midfielder. Could well be the case.
He doesn't have to play every game for us as well. Like we can manage his minutes as well, but I keep going back to the point about Lavia. I think Lavia being injured has been a blessing for Reece James in a way where we sort of found this role for him now. But then obviously when Lavia comes out, do you drop Reece James or do you drop Enzo? Caicedo's undroppable for me. You need him in the team. But then what happens when Lavia does come back? Do you shift Reece off to right back then, where we know historically he reoccurs his injury there? So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what happens.
It is interesting. I mean, obviously, if we make Champions League for next season, there's your solution. But still being in the Europa League or Conference League, then it's an issue, exactly like you say. So I don't really know how we're going to solve it either. But for now, I'm going to worry about that when Lavia and Reece James manage to stay fit for more than a month at a time. So until that point, until they haven't shown me that they can actually be fit, there's no point worrying about that. We move up the pitch. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, I mean, he's terrible, isn't he? Compared to everybody else's passing accuracy, you can see it there. I'm sure we've got a few that have bad ones as well. 2 out of 3 dribbles is decent, to be fair. 0 out of 2 long balls. Duels, 3 out of 6 is not terrible, to be fair. But he just stands out as not being good enough, doesn't he? Like, he just stands out as he's not quite our level. Now, to be fair, today, George didn't also look particularly amazing. Good cutback for Enzo's assist, so that he had a good moment. But otherwise, he didn't really manage to impose himself on the game either. But what I keep on saying, and what people just blatantly ignore for some reason, is this thing. The fact that Dewsbury Hall is 26, unlike everybody else in this team, other than...
Tosin, isn't it? Tosin's 26.
Yeah, Tosin and Nkunku. He isn't young. He shouldn't have any of these excuses. Now, obviously, he changed team and he went up a level and everything. But like the fact that he knew Maresca's system never looked useful. There was not one game other than preseason where it looked like, Dewsbury Hall has a benefit and works better because he knows the system better than the rest. Now, obviously, we're now 8 months into the season. So obviously, or 7 months into the season. So obviously, you're not going to, notice this as much anymore. But you just notice that he's not at this level. And it's just, I just still will never get over the fact that we spent 30 million on him. Such an absolute waste of money. And I still stand by the fact that I think how this whole thing came about is purely the fact that that we needed to convince Leicester to let us have Maresca. And that's why they said, well, then you need to sign one of our players. And that's who we went for. But I'd give Dewsbury probably like a 5.
Oh wow.
Would you not go below average? I can do 5.5 if you want.
Oh wow, I was going to go even lower than that, man.
We can go lower as well.
I was going to go lower, man. Like, genuinely, I don't know anything good he did the game, genuinely. Even just watching it with a pure eye, I'm just like, what's this guy doing? Like, he's not impacting the game at all for us. I'll probably give him a 3, to be honest with you. That's probably as low as I go. Just because of like you said, the age factor as well. This guy's got, like, okay, think about it. From the start of the season, Dewsbury Hall has had the most advantage, I guess, because he's played under Maresca before, so he knows the system inside out. He's had a whole season playing there compared to other players, so he's got no excuse as to like adapting to the new system. He's played Premier League football as well before. But he's just not good enough.
I'm not really sure why anybody's surprised. He only turned up to be a good player in the Championship. If that's the standard, well,
I was low-key surprised. It's a surprise to me, because I did think at Leicester he was good. Like, even when they were in the Prem, I thought, okay, this guy looks like the real deal in a way. I think he'll end up at a big club soon if he continues the way. And then obviously he had that phenomenal season in the Championship. Then, for me anyway, personally, I thought I thought the start of the season it was a good signing to have someone in there that knows the system inside out. Yeah, Maresca, like, this is Maresca's type of player. He'll know him inside out. He'll know how to get the best out of him, and the players around him as well. His age as well, 26. He'll bring that experience factor as well. But it's just not worked at all. He's just not adapted to the Prem again at all. And I'll keep going back to the touches, man. Like, whenever this guy gets the ball fizzed into him, it just bounces off him every time. And I guess we should look to sell, but then we need the depth in the midfield to play these sort of games as well.
That's the problem with him, isn't it? Like, the fact that he isn't even really a useful midfielder for depth, because he's kind of a 10, but terrible at that. He doesn't really provide a goal threat. He doesn't really provide any creativity, and he doesn't provide the defensive stability to be a useful kind of DM backup either. So he's in this kind of middle ground where he doesn't do enough in any direction. So it's
just dead weight really in the team. So I'd give him a 3.
Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's like completely useless and only a Championship level player. I think he, like, at a West Ham or at a Everton or at a, I don't know, club like that, I think he could be a good Premier League player. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he has our level. I just really don't. And I think he seems, the fact that even in these games and all the other, Conference League games, he's never really managed to stand out at all. It just doesn't.
Even the games he scored in a couple of Conference League games as well. But even then,
he scored a couple of goals, but that doesn't mean he stood out as playing well.
No, he hasn't. No, not at all.
Exactly. We move on to Cole Palmer, who, got his first Conference League game of his career and of the season tonight. we might as well have left it at no Conference League games in his career this season because he didn't really do anything other than this effort in the first half and this effort in the second half. That one was close.
Yeah, that was close.
Fair.
Yeah,
That one nearly was a worldie. But otherwise, he did absolutely nothing. I mean, didn't give the ball away as much as Dewsbury Hall did, so that's something. But, didn't get a shot on target, didn't complete a dribble. Okay, 4 out of 8 long balls, not terrible. Won 3 tackles. He did a job defensively. There was a tackle.
Yeah, defensively, I thought he was pretty solid, Palmer. Like, there was one point where they were breaking into the box, and I'm like, oh my God, is that... I thought it was Dewsbury Hall at first. I was like, oh, flipping hell, it was Palmer that's taking the ball off. But, with Palmer, man, again, average, man, or below average today, for me. He's just going through a rough patch, like all great players do. To us, so you've seen players like Salah, Harry Kane when he's in the Prem, Haaland, De Bruyne, all these top quality players go through spells where they're not playing well. So I think Palmer's just going through that one of their spells right now. So I wouldn't really worry too much about him, to be honest with you. Well, I'm not worried anyway, but he's just going through a bad patch, I think, at the moment. And like he said last week, he'll be back soon, and we'll need him come towards the business end of the season and stuff. Let's hope he can find his form then. But if I was to give him a rating, man, maybe I'll probably give him a 5. To be honest with you,
that's what I was thinking. After we've gone
5.
Lower for.
Are you worried about Palmer or?
No. Honestly, I'm not. By the way, just Ricky, that's an absolute disgrace to even compare Saul to Dewsbury Hall. If I'm being honest, like Saul's left toenail has more footballing quality than Dewsbury Hall does. No, and I'm not even joking. But yeah, no, I'm not worried about Cole. I think it will come back. I think it's one of those situations where once he'll get a goal or two, it will automatically click again. Obviously, he's struggling a little bit more. I think he's being marked a bit tight. I think he's playing in a more crowded area of the pitch.
Teams are
at the fact that nearly everybody plays very deep against us, that makes it even more difficult, obviously, for him. And also the responsibility. And I think he's also suffering from the fact that Jackson isn't there, because Jackson is the guy who he's linking up best with. Now, that doesn't excuse from the chances that he's missed, because the chances individually may have nothing to do with whoever sets it up. The chances were there. But I still think in general play, I think he misses someone like Jackson around him. Madueke not being there as well. Those two are probably the two that he links up best with. So, yeah, I'm not worried about him, but I would agree with your 5 for the day. We move on because we've only got a few more to cover. Tyreek George, bro, got that assist, which is nice. He's still missing that first goal for Chelsea, which I still can't believe he didn't get. Especially if you remember, bro, that one and only clean sheet we did get in the Conference League was in that 8-0 against Noah. Remember that George chance that he missed in that 8-0?
Yeah, I don't know how he missed it, man.
Goal in that game. But what did you make of him today? First half, he was getting it all wrong. Like, he tried to run into the box when no ball was coming, and then he was needed out wide, and he wasn't there as a passing option. And then when he was needed to be in the box, he stayed out wide, and he wasn't in the box as an option. It just wasn't really happening for him in the first half. In the second half, playing striker, he wasn't really like doing striker things, but he sets up a goal. So decent overall, I guess.
Yeah, decent overall. He set up the goal. The couple of instances where he held the ball up pretty decently, helped take the foot off the gas from their point of view a little bit as well. Took the pressure off us a little bit, I guess, as well. Got the assist as well, which will do him confidence. He obviously got the assist against Southampton as well last week. So, I definitely want to see more of him. Like, I wouldn't write him off too quickly, to be honest with you. I'm sure he'll start the game next Thursday. Yeah. To be honest with you. First half did nothing, but I'll probably give him I'll probably just above Palmer a 5.5 just because of the assist. Otherwise, other than that, yeah.
I'd probably push it to a 6 because of the assist.
All right.
But I could see a 5.5 as well. Like, don't get me wrong. Guys, put it in the chat. Do you want a 5.5 or do you want a 6? Tell us in the chat what you want if you are particularly bothered between the two, because it's somewhere in between there. Honestly, Moika. Now, let's see. Touches of the ball. 8. Okay. He had 8 touches. He got dispossessed once. He played 5 passes, 4 of them successful. Had 1 ground duel that he lost and 2 aerials that he lost. Honestly, I know he played a half, but I kind of want to give him an NA.
Oh, Yeah, that's
Because
and then they for
feel
playing a whole
he
half. That's
did much
mad.
wrong. Like it didn't feel like it was his fault that he didn't touch the ball. You know,
No,
when that
exactly.
Lukaku
Yeah,
had that game at Palace away, and it felt like you were literally not moving, almost trying not to get the ball. That's not what it felt like with
no.
Ilka today. So
It just it
we
just
either give him a 6 or an A for me.
I think it was just a wrong game to throw him in. To be honest with you, he should have been coming off the bench. Really, like we should have. He should have been coming on at halftime rather than starting the game. Really, he should have been coming on, or even like the last sort of 20 minutes or so. Just build some confidence for the guy. But yeah, first I just feel bad for him that he got hooked at halftime and stuff. And yeah,
But
I guess he's got a taste of.
I think his halftime sub was pre-planned just as much as it was for Badiashile and it was for Caicedo personally.
Yeah, I can see
Because
that
he's
as well.
17, he's not played for the first team before. It's his first professional start. Like
start as well. Yeah, that's why it's harsh to sort of say like a 0, for example. Like it's really harsh to give him like a 0, but yeah, I'll probably give him an NA to be honest with you, which is wild because he played the whole half and didn't really do anything.
Yeah, but I agree, bro. I honestly agree. I mean, obviously, Nkunku is the last one that we kind of need to give a rating for in terms of the players that actually played a significant amount of time. Because honestly, I couldn't tell you a single thing that Sancho did, if I'm honest. What did we give Tyreek? Did you agree to the 6 in the end, or do you want to stick to 5.5? You decide, bro.
We can go with 6. I'm fine with the 6, bro. Yeah.
Fair dues. Palmer will have on a 5. Moika will give him an NA. Honestly, we're being nice here. We're being nice, Shamaira. Yeah. So yeah, next time just do a bit more. As for Nkunku, bro, honestly, I want to like just a second to prop him because in the build-up to the second goal, he did a lot of work to win that ball back. Now it was in the end Cucurella that stole it. But it was Nkunku applying pressure that allowed Cucurella to get in. Cucurella plays it straight to Nkunku, and he plays a nice ball to George, who cuts it back to Enzo for the 2-0 at the time. I can't say Nkunku did much other than that, if I'm being honest.
No,
but I thought for Nkunku standards, and that isn't very high standards, I think he did good.
no, I hear that. There was obviously one sort of half chance he had where Enzo played it to him. He was offside, but apart from that, and then obviously did well for the second goal. He was involved in the second goal, good pressing from him and Cucurella. Did he have any other shots after that? I don't know.
No. He didn't.
I'll probably. God, what would I rate him? Maybe give him a 4, maybe, or 3.5. But that's not even like. But thing is, I
wouldn't have gone that low, but I hear.
Oh, like a 5 then?
The fact that he didn't have a single shot, not a single dribble.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of gone for.
Pass into the final third, okay, because he was in the final third himself. Only one touch in the box.
Yeah,
it's not impressive, is it?
That's why I would have given him like a 3.5 or a 4.
Yeah, I mean, okay. To be fair, you gave Dewsbury Hall like a 3, didn't you? And I kind of raised it to a 4. Do 4.5, shall we?
Okay, yeah.
Because he was at least involved with that goal, I suppose.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I'll give Sancho an NA as well because I don't have.
He made one header from the corner. That's it. That's the only thing he did. So you can give him one.
And there was this one moment where he defended quite well, like literally seconds after it came on, when he intercepted a pass and then had to pass it back to Sanchez for him to clear it.
Yeah, and the header as well from the corner. It was his head that headed it out.
I mean, to be fair, stats-wise, he did the same amount of passes as Moika, even though he only played 18 minutes.
Wow.
And he had more tackles and more duels than Nkunku did in the whole half. So, yeah, I mean...
okay, interesting.
I mean, I guess, but yeah, he gets an NA. Let me just quickly check if there's been any other quotes that I have potentially missed yet. But otherwise, Dharmz, we're going to round it out in a second, and we're going to get to the rating for the manager. What did you make of the manager? What did you make of the selection? Obviously, in hindsight, we spoke about what you made of it initially, but what did you make of it in hindsight with, seeing how it went, I suppose? Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously we say it was pre-planned at halftime, but he still did make the changes at halftime, which I do rate him for, because Maresca could have easily just said, okay, yeah, we're doing well here, 0-0 at halftime, not really any threat, but it was clear that he did want to win the game by making those changes. So I'll give him, I guess, that sort of credit. But the starting lineup, obviously, we touched on before, and most fans were sort of surprised and weren't really happy with it. But yeah, the tactical tweak as well. in the second half by putting George up front did kind of work in our favor. So I'll give him a bit of credit for that. Well, I'll be rating Maresca as well, or
yeah.
Okay. I'll give him maybe a 6 or 6.5 maybe for the game. Just because of the tactical tweaks and the fact that he acted at halftime when he could have easily gone out with the second half with the same team and had faith in some of the players, but he's like, no, I want to change it up and win the game. So yeah, I'll probably give him a 6. I think a 6 is fair.
Yeah, 6 or 6.5. To be honest, I'm probably fine with either. I think I personally see it as he didn't do anything based on the game. He just always planned to make those 3 subs at halftime.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not giving him too much credit in terms of, he changed the game. It was almost like no matter whether we would have been 2-0 up, 1-0 down, 0-0, those 3 subs would have happened at halftime, I think. So
maybe.
Yeah, that's why I think 6 is overall fair. We got the win. We'll probably get the job done next week, hopefully. And we move on. And obviously, he did still give priority to the Leicester game on the weekend. Now we just have to go and win that. Then we have to say the week went well and his selections made sense. If we now go and not beat Leicester, well, we did still win today. So I guess, he did what he had to do. But yeah, just beat Leicester, guys. Okay, let's please beat Leicester.
Simple. The second worst team in the league, man. We surely have to go there and get the job done, man.
We have to, bro. We absolutely have to. But yeah, I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's about time we wrap this one up. We got a win under our belts. By the way, if you haven't already, check out my podcast with Pys. Link is down in the description. New
Very
episode
good, by the way, the
coming
podcast.
out tonight. Thank you, Dharmz. Me and Pys will be recording in about half an hour's time. So we will get that episode out for you tonight already. So get the link down below is to the last episode. But obviously, if you follow it on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, the new episodes will come into your subscription boxes on your podcast platforms. Dharmz, you've recently joined the podcast. We can see the at on screen. What's the at? What's it about?
Yeah, so it's more sort of just standard YouTube stuff, talking about Chelsea. We record a few match previews, match reviews, and all of that. More videos, a few live streams during the day that a few of the other guys do during the day. So yeah, check it out, guys, if you haven't already. And yeah, obviously sub to Laurenz's channel as well, man. He's smashing at the moment. And yeah, keep going back to the podcast. I'm really enjoying the podcast as well, man. And yeah, definitely listen to it whether at the gym, at work, which I normally do, and just to get more insight and info on Chelsea, man. So yeah, big up, man.
Exactly, bro. I love a podcast, like you say, gym. Well, I don't know, making food.
Yeah, anything,
driving, really. Going to work, like you say, or if you're commuting on the train or whatever, it's perfect for that. It's perfect. Yeah, check out Dharmz podcast, Dharmz YouTube channel. I will link it down in the description below. So check that out. Subscribe to those guys. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. We win again, so that's good. But yeah, up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we will see you next time.
Big up.